Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. Court is back in session and cause number 332524. Your case is styled the State of Texas versus Hector Ernesto Maldonado or Hector Ernesto Maldonado Jr. Mr. Maldonado, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maldonado, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Maldonado, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maldonado, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Maldonado?
I'm doing fine.
That's good. Mr. Maldonado, you have a right to have a record in this case. Do you want to have a record or do you waive a record?
I'll wait.
You waive a record? Okay. Mr. Maldonado, I have before me in cause number 332524, a document that has been filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This document is titled Information. This information alleges that on or about May 3rd of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you were charged with the Class B misdemeanor offense of reckless driving. Mr. Maldonado, do you understand what you have been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Maldonado, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maldonado, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. Mr. Maldonado, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And on page 2 of this same document, Mr. Maldonado, there are 2 sets of initials. First set of initials is on a line next to a box that's checked guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
The second set of initials is below a paragraph that is titled Discovery Admonishments, and it's next to a statement that reads, I do not request discovery of the evidence. I waive my right to request discovery in this case and choose to enter a plea of guilty or no contest. Mr. Maldonado, did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of this same document, Mr. Maldonado, there's a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document, which is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, Mr. Maldonado, do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maldonado, there are 2 boxes that are checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you are waiving your right to an appeal, which means you are giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maldonado, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. Well, State, you like to offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, sir. State offer states 1.
Mr. Maldonado, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State's Exhibit number 1 is the document that on page 1, it has the box check that states that this is a misdemeanor case and the range of punishment is 30 days, not to exceed 30 days in the Jefferson County Jail, fine not to exceed $200. It also, the same document that have your initials on page 2, and this document also has your signature on page 3. The state would like to use this document as evidence against you in your case. Is it all right for the state to use this document as evidence in your case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no objections. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. And if Mr. Maldonado, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Maldonado, is there any evidence that you are currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maldonado, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
What is that agreement?
In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty in this case, we're recommending confinement in the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 30 days. However, we're asking that confinement be suspended and the defendant be placed on community supervision for a period of 6 months, ordered to pay a $200 fine, perform 10 hours of community service restitution, and in addition to the standard conditions, also submit to and successfully complete a driver safety course.
Okay, Mr. Maldonado, the state is, hold on a minute. Okay, Mr. Maldonado, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you not have to serve any time in Jefferson County Jail on this case because you'll be placed on probation for 6 months. During the 6-month probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $200 plus court costs of $407, which comes to a total of fine and court costs of $607. You'll also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a urinalysis fee of $15 each month. Your total monthly installments, that is the total amount that you will be required to pay each month while you are on probation, is $200 per month. Mr. Maldonado, will you be able to pay the $200 each month?
Your Honor, before he answers that, if we could back up on the conditions of probation. He and I talked about the standard conditions of probation, and we also talked about conditions of probation that apply to drug offenders and also DWI defendants. This is a reckless driving case. There's no allegation of alcohol use or drug use. I don't know that any of those fees, particularly like with regard to urinalysis and that kind of stuff, should apply.
Well, urinalysis is in every case, regardless of if it's DWI or not. Every probation case, there's a urinalysis fee. Because I guess one of the things that they do while they're on probation, they get random drug tests.
Oh, okay, that's the standard condition, Judge.
It's a standard condition. He doesn't have to pay the a lab fee, or he doesn't have to pay the DWI education class. None of that is in here.
Okay. Okay.
So, but I'm just saying that the fees, once you add up the fine court calls, the probation fee of $60 each month, UNICEF fee of $15 each month, it comes out to an amount of $200 each month in installments. Okay, will you be able to pay that or not? You will? Okay. Now, you'll also be required to perform 10 hours of community service, and you'll be required to attend and complete a driver's education course. And you will also be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of your probation. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, Mr. Maldonado, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Maldonado, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Maldonado, you're gonna stand on the X to your left, and you're gonna stand in front of our court clerk, and you're gonna follow the clerk's directions, and once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. You're right there, the first X right there.